Hey YouTubers, today I'm going to talk about music. I'm going to talk about something that I enjoy, which is going to be a cappella. Now some of y'all out there, you want to start your own a cappella group, or maybe you want to, start doing kind of like what Peter Hollins does, where he just takes different levels of his voice and just layers them on top of each other, what have you. The thing that you have to have a successful a cappella group is you have to have a few things. First off, somebody has to be your tenor, or your high part, your high part. Then you need to have your mid tenor, as I like to call it, a mid tenor or a second tenor. And that's your kind of mid-range, but not quite low. Then comes your baritone. Baritone is your not high, but close to low. You have to pardon me, I have some people upstairs who are a little on the loud side. But then, of course, you have your bass, and your bass is always going to be at the bottom. They're your stability. Now, the extra part to that is something that every a cappella group really should have, which is you have to have a beatboxer. Now, for those of you who don't know what beatboxing is, which is probably all two of you on the internet, but for your benefit, I will explain. Beatboxing is a form of using your voice and using your throat and your mouth to actually create percussion sounds. So you've probably seen it in different kinds of videos out there. You've probably seen it on Home Free, or you've seen it on Peter Hollins, or you've seen it on any number of a cappella groups out there. They always have a beatboxer. Now, some of you out there may be wondering, how do they do that? A lot of the time, it's all about knowing how to manipulate your voice to create these sounds. So I'm going to help you learn some of the few basics, and if you guys like this, I might see if I can do some higher end stuff for you and maybe do a little demonstration in a higher register next time, or a higher capacity next time. But I will do some demonstrations during this video, because of course you got to learn how to do it. But to start off with, we'll start off with the simplest one, which is to do a bass drum. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bass drum is, again, that's maybe all two of you, or maybe a bunch of little kids that don't know what a bass drum is. Bass drum is the bottom. It is the drum that keeps the beat, mostly. You'll see a big version of that in big bands. You'll see the big drum in a drum kit, things of that nature. Well, one of the things that is hard to do for some people, is to replicate that sound. So I'll give you an example, and then I'll tell you how I do it. Okay? So here's a bass drum. Okay, so I got a little bit tom-tommy in there, but I'll explain that in a second. But a bass drum is basically that. Now, what I was doing was I was kind of holding a lot of air in my throat, and I was letting out just a little bit of it right here, and I was letting out little puffs of air. So if you're going through that, you want to sound like you're saying the word do, but hold your mouth real tight when you say it. So it's and it sounds like you're spitting the air out, but it's really you're trying to say the word do a little bit, but you're saying it with a really tight-lipped, down to a point almost. Now, you also heard me go into several different registers there, which was a tom-tom. Now, a tom-tom is more of a it's the most common drum you'll see in a drum kit, which is a tom-tom is just basically an empty bottom drum that the drum head makes a noise and it reverberates out through the bottom of the drum. Now they can make different noises in different registers depending on the size of the tom-tom, and that's just science, you know. The more you know. But when you're doing a drum sound, when you're doing beatboxing, tom-tomming is something that you almost have to do in some cases, because you're not only holding the beat, but you're also trying to help create a more rich sound for the bottom of your group. So with that in mind, here's how we do a tom-tom. Okay, so when you're doing that, you do the same kind of thing as what you're doing with a bass, where you're doing the, but you are vibrating your upper lip slightly, because when you're doing that, you are able to both trill the sound, which musical term, it basically means roll the sound, and you are also able to move the sound up and down in the registers. So by going you can actually move the sound up and down and keep it in that do range, the bass range, sort of. Now next, we'll do some good ones. Like, this is the one that most people probably have trouble with, which is a snare drum, which is. Now, if you'll notice, when I was doing that, I had my teeth right along the top side of my bottom lip right here. So your teeth set right along here. Okay. Now, the next one is cymbals. Now, different cymbals make different sounds. So you have hi-hats, you have crash cymbals, you have inverted cymbals, which is one that I always have trouble with. But I'll give you an example of a hi-hat and a crash cymbal, okay? A hi-hat, for those of you who don't know, is the cymbal that you'll see in a drum kit, that it's two cymbals on top of each other, and usually what they are is they're controlled by a pedal, and when the drummer hits it, he can either leave it open and let it reverberate, or he can close it and stop the reverberation short, which creates an entirely different sound. So when you're doing a hi-hat, you want to do kind of like this. So as you'll notice, what I'm doing is I'm pressuring air out through my teeth right here. It's so it makes that closed hi-hat sound. So it doesn't come out very high, but it comes out very distinctive. Now an open hi-hat would sound a little bit like this. So that's the drummer opening and closing the hi-hat. If you'll notice, it's a little bit fuller sound, a little bit deeper sound. And then there's the crash cymbal, which is pss, 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 pss. You're making a hissing sound. It's kind of a and that's where a crashing. That's where a hi-hat comes from, and then or where a a crash cymbal comes from. And then of course there's the huge crash cymbals, which are, and then you notice you're making the same kind of sound, but you're making it with a wider mouth. So it's almost like you're saying shush. So you're shh, shh, shh. There you go. And that's how you do a crash cymbal. So let's put together what we've got thus far and see what we can get out of that, okay? Okay? So, I know I'm not the best at it. There are people out there who are way better than me. But I wanted to help out as best I could, you know. It's not the best I've ever done, but hey, you know, we all do what we can. So if you like this content, hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom. Shameless plug alert. Shameless plug alert. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, I tell you guys, it's getting rough out there for YouTube creators because everybody's got to get a like and subscribe anymore. But like I said in a previous video, I do this for the hell of it. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave me a comment down below, and I'll try to give you a shout out in the next video. So, okay, everybody have a good night. Bye.